So these are 4 ways not to pick a career, and then the inverse, 4 ways to pick a career. I'm Daniel Davis. I'm a sociologist at San Diego State University, and I study and mentor students in the college to career transition. And in this video, we're going to talk about 4 ways not to pick a career. These are 4 ways that a lot of my students that I work with, that I survey, that I interview, end up picking careers. They're pretty common mistakes, but they'll slow your journey down and make it harder to find clarity in what ultimately you want to do and what you want to become. So, number 1, inertia, or basically doing nothing, doing what you're already doing. So if you're already employed, it's very easy to say, hey, I'm busy, I got bills to pay, I've got a social life to maintain, I got schoolwork, so I've got this college job, it's not really a career thing I want to move towards. Maybe you're a barista at Starbucks or something, nothing against that, but if you know that it's not aligned with the kind of career path that you see yourself eventually going towards, but you're doing nothing to look around, then you're letting inertia or procrastination or simply just the status quo of what you're already doing continue. If you have a job that maybe is pretty decent, it's career oriented, but it's just not fulfilling you, it's not what you see yourself in long term, same thing can apply. It's not just being unemployed or underemployed. It can be in a job that is not the right match, but because life can be a little overwhelming, we just do nothing. And we hope that somehow tomorrow or the next day we'll figure it out, or next month or next year. A lot of students, when they come into college, they think, the career path is a long ways off. I don't have to think about it yet. But in my interviews with students, yes, over the years of college, more and more of them start thinking about, what is it that I want to do? But a huge percentage have this idea that they'll figure it out their senior year, or they'll figure it out, a few months before graduation, or even a few months after graduation. But realistically, the college career journey is one that takes many months. On average, people get a job at least about 6 months after graduation, and that can extend up to 18 months, right? So you want to get this journey started sooner. So that is the number 1 wrong way, is inertia or just the status quo. The number 2 way not to pick a career path is the status of the job. Is the industry one that seems really popular right now, or a certain firm, right? There's illustrious firm titles that you've heard of, Google or JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs. Or maybe it's the idea of, I want to be a physician or a doctor in healthcare, or I want to be a lawyer. And you see things on TV, the media portrayal of certain careers makes certain careers look high status, be that Wall Street banking to, an engineer. But picking a career based on the status of the industry, the status of certain companies, is overlooking a crucial component. We'll get to that later, but that is the number 2 way not to pick a career, picking it based on the status of the industry or the company. The number 3 way not to pick a career is vision, having a long-term vision. The further out your goals, especially when you're in college, the more likely that's going to be a fantasy on the horizon and then not a roadmap to get you there. And the thing about things on the horizon is as you walk towards the horizon, there's still always a horizon. You don't actually ever get closer. It just keeps moving further away. What you need are things that are more mid-range and even short range, things that are achievable and obtainable. So the number 3 way not to pick a career is long-term vision. If you're projecting yourself out 10 years, 20 years, you're projecting too far. The working world evolves and changes really fast. Your interests and passions and things you want to do will evolve. So at this stage in your life, you should not be thinking that far into the future. And the number 4 way not to pick a career is titles. The title of the job, right? Does it have a really cool sounding job title, director of this or CEO of that? It's pretty popular for students to want to start their own companies because they want to be the CEO of something, right? My dissertation was on university-sponsored incubators for startups. And a lot of students were drawn to it, not because they had a particular product or service that they were really excited about, delivering to people that they knew people would be interested in, but they had this excitement for the lifestyle and they simply wanted the title of CEO. But it doesn't have to be CEO. That could be, your kind of classic roles of scientist, doctor, lawyer, maybe politician. But you don't want to be thinking of a career solely on the title. Title's just a word. What's more important is whether or not it's work that's going to connect with who you are. So now let's flip those on their head. If those are 4 ways not to pick a career, there is a way to pick a career that is better. So instead of inertia, instead of doing what you're already doing, go with interests over inertia. And the theme here is exploration. You just got to get started. You got to get started figuring out what about different kinds of jobs, different kinds of careers are interesting to you. Interests are a wonderful way to start. There's a ton of different interest inventories. If you want to take an assessment online, I have a course myself that you can take called Career Clarity. There's links below at laborlab.com. But there's a host of ways you can come up with your interests. You don't even have to take an assessment. Just think about the things you enjoy. It could be hobbies. It could be the kinds of movies or books or magazines or games you play. What about them? Are there things in there that are clues to your interests? What are things that just you find fun? Interests are a great way to start looking. And the key idea is just to get started. That's how you beat inertia. If you think like, oh my gosh, I have to make this huge life career decision, it's very easy to put it off. But if you frame it as just, hey, I want to get in touch with what my interests are. And then do little things to dabble, explore in the possibilities of different career paths based on those interests, that's a lot easier to do, right? It's simple as some informational interviews, right? Calling people up that are in that career and asking them some key questions. It could be going to webinars or micro internships, right? You don't have to spend a year of your life in a position to find out you don't like it or that it's something you want to continue pursuing. Number 2, great way to pick a career is to focus on skills over status. So I said that just, choosing a career path because the industry or company sounds like it will be prestigious is not the best way to go about it, in part because if you don't get that, there's a pretty good chance you might not, especially if it's highly prestigious and there's a lot of competition around it, right? Is that you get deflated. It becomes discouraging. So what can we do that flips that actually builds confidence? And that's the theme of this one, building confidence. And you do that by focusing on skills. What are you good at? What is it that you already have some marketable abilities in, or that you'd be interested in developing, right? Maybe it's a weekend course or an online certificate or training. Maybe it's some software skill. It could be a soft skill or a hard skill. Soft skills, people management, communication, public speaking, or hard skills, like technical things that you can do. Either way, what are the things you can already do? And start looking for jobs that would allow you to do that. Are there certain favorite pieces of software or equipment that you know how to use? Well, let's see if we can put some of that to practice or build new skills. Skills are concrete, right? But status isn't. Seeking status can often lead to deflation and discouragement, but building and honing things you're good at, building skills, that boosts confidence. The number 3 way to pick a career, values. Your work values. You want to do work that is meaningful to you. So the theme here is purpose. Finding purpose in your work rather than choosing something based on long-term vision. It's very hard to predict the distant future, especially when you're early in your career or you're still in college and you're a student. So let's just save the future prediction for later when you have a little bit more of a trajectory and instead say, hey, what's important to me? And that can be different for everyone, right? So your work values might simply be that it's a stable job that allows you to provide for your family, right? And you like the people you work with and you feel like you're doing something positive, right? It's not that the company has to have this, huge sense of calling in your life for you to find meaning or purpose in doing the work. Now it can. Maybe you work for a nonprofit or you work for a company that you think is really trying to make a difference in some way that you're excited about. And that's great. Maybe the purpose it gives you is that it allows it for a certain kind of lifestyle, thanks to flexibility, or it allows for remote working and you want to have a family, or there are other hobbies or passions in your life that aren't your day job. And that's okay, right? You can live to work or you can work to live. Those are 2 different philosophies of work and they're both fine, but it's good to be clear on it. right? If you're living to work, it means your identity is really wrapped up in your job. So in that case, the purpose or the values you have might be explicitly tied to the company mission. But if you're working to live, then that means that the values or purpose you have is that it might provide for the other half of your life, where more of that purpose and meaning and fulfillment comes from. But in either case, you need to have a sense of why you're doing what you're doing. Because not every day at work is fun, right? No matter what job, there's days that are more tedious or tasks you don't love. And ultimately, what's going to help you stay motivated, what's going to help you be persistent is feeling like there's meaning, that there's purpose in what you do. And the fourth way to pick a career is tasks. So not title, not the job title, but the tasks of the work itself, right? You'll have a title on a business card maybe, but you don't live that title hour by hour, day by day. But guess what you do live hour by hour, day by day? The actual tasks you're doing at the job. So do these tasks put you in a state of flow? This is the scientific word for when people feel a kind of optimal engagement in their work. They lose track of time and they're just immersed in the activity that they're doing. So find out as much as you can about a job and its actual specific tasks. And this may sound similar to interests, the very first one that I suggested, but think of it more as coming full circle. So you start with interests and looking for things that interest you and jobs that might be, in areas that you enjoy as a way of getting started. Remember, the theme was exploration, but now we've come full circle. So now we're narrowing into specific jobs itself, looking at the tasks. So it's a little more granular. What do you think you'll be doing on an hour by hour basis, right? Is it in an office? Is it out in the field somewhere? Is it in nature? Is it with kids? Is it on a platform in front of people, singing or teaching or something like that? Is it writing reports? Is it using software? Is it using your hands or tools? But what does the typical hour by hour, day by day work actually look like? And that's something you want to explore. I have a ChatGPT guide. You can copy and paste prompts about specific job titles, and it will tell you what much of the typical day looks like in a variety of professions. So hit the link below and you can have a copy of that for free, and emphasize the reality that you'll live your life, minute by minute, doing specific tasks. And the theme here is engagement. If you enjoy the tasks you're working on, if you find yourself in a state of flow, you'll naturally be more engaged in the work. You'll learn faster in that position. You'll end up working harder because it doesn't feel harder, right? If the minutes are slowly dragging by, then it takes a lot more discipline and just persistence to stay at that task. But if you lose track of time because you're fully immersed and engrossed in what you're doing, then you end up working harder without it feeling harder. And so you get recognized for your excellence in that role because you're highly engaged. So these are 4 ways not to pick a career, and then the inverse, 4 ways to pick a career. I hope you find this helpful. I'll keep making more videos based on the research that I do, my own experiences, as well as the students that I mentor. If you have questions or suggestions for things you'd like me to talk about, please feel free to put them in the comments below. Thank you.